Excellent. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate you joining me today. If you want to download the slide deck from today, any of the templates or formats that I'm going to be talking about, or the list of the tools that I'll be talking about, you can go to getmyslides.info, or I'll have a slide up at the end as well. My name is Brian Piper. I'm the Director of Content Strategy and Assessment at the University of Rochester. Today I'm going to be talking about how you can use AI and analytics to make the most out of the content on your website, on your social channels, your emails, but however you deliver your content. But first, I want to talk about dinner. So how many of you in here are responsible for either cooking dinner, shopping for dinner, eating dinner, right? So
Eating.
all of the above. So my wife and I have 6 kids between the two of us. So we eat a lot of food. I'm the cook and the shopper in the house. So back in November of 2022, the normal situation is Saturday night, we're sitting around playing games, whatever, and I look out and I say, okay, hey, I'm going shopping tomorrow. What do you guys want for dinner? You know what I get? Crickets. I mean, they don't want crickets, but I get no help, right? So then I have to spend my evening coming up with the meal plan for the week and figuring out what the shopping list is and putting that all together. So when ChatGPT first came out, I thought this was a great use case for ChatGPT. So I went in and I said, give me a meal plan for a family of 8 that's quick to prepare and healthy. I got back some pretty mediocre, not very great answers. So then you did what you do with these tools, and you give it more data, more information. So one of us is a pescatarian, the kids aren't very adventurous eaters, but I like to cook like fancier meals, and here's a list of the foods that we're typically eating. So then it started getting pretty good. I started getting some pretty good input back. And then custom GPTs came out. So how many people have used custom GPTs or know what custom GPTs are? Okay. So these are basically like mini models that you can create inside of the paid version of ChatGPT, and you can personalize them for your specific situation. So I built the Culinary Creator. Super easy. You don't have to have any programming knowledge. You just go in and you tell the tool what you want it to do. So you just start off by saying you're a, gourmet chef, and here's the process we're going to work through. Here's all the appliances that I have. Here's how I like to cook. Here is first I want to brainstorm ideas about meals, like main courses and side dishes, and then I'm going to ask you for recipes. Give me images for those as well. Then I want you to give me the preparation schedule so that I can get as much done on the weekend so I don't have to cook every evening. And then I want you to give me the shopping list from all of those different recipes. And by the way, here's a map of my grocery store and the order that I shop in. So now, on Saturday nights, I don't even ask the kids anymore. I just go right to ChatGPT. I brainstorm the ideas. We come up with different main courses and side dishes. I get the images of what they're going to look like. I get all the recipes. It gives me the preparation schedule, and then it gives me the shopping list in the order that I shop in my store. So that alone is worth the $20 a month that I pay for ChatGPT. Saves me a ton of time, takes that mental load off my brain every week. So ever since I've been using these tools, I've been keeping a list of how I use them and how much time I save by using them. So I've got this list, probably 100 different ways that I'm using them. This is just a few of the ways I'm using them for work. In 1 week, I did 3 months worth of work. So it's just fantastic the amount of value you can get out of these. And obviously I don't have time to go through all of these today, so I just want to hit highlights on a few. So I work at a research university. We publish a lot of content about very complex, detailed research findings. So we have to kind of understand the content enough to be able to write about it. So the first thing we usually do when we get some new content from one of our researchers is we research that content and the ideas. And Aiden talked about this a little bit. The first place I usually go is Perplexity. The thing I love about Perplexity is it goes out and it does a live internet search. It returns the results in a conversational format based on the input that you gave it, and then it cites all the sources. So we know these tools can hallucinate, they can make up things, they can lie to you. So it's nice to be able to immediately go and validate all of those sources and make sure that information is accurate. Now, ChatGPT Search does the same thing now, so it's fantastic, great way to start your research. And then what I typically do is I'll open up 4 different browser windows and launch 4 different LLMs. So currently we're using ChatGPT, Claude, Hyperwrite, and Gemini. because these models all do different things better. So we open all of them up, we put the same prompt into all of them, and then we pick and choose what parts and pieces we want to use out of the results. And sometimes we'll take the output from one model and paste it into another model and ask it for its opinion on that. But then now we got the idea of our content, we've kind of done some research, maybe we've got some outlines or some drafts, and now we need to get at the heart of content marketing, which is understanding your audience and knowing who you're delivering this content to. The best way to do that is by using personas. So I love a good persona, the imaginary friends of the marketing world, right? The problem with personas is they're time-consuming to create, because you have to interview members of that audience, you have to gather all that qualitative and quantitative information, you have to format it and go through it, put it in the right layout, and distribute it to your marketing communications team so they can all be on the same page about what they're communicating, who they're talking to. But with the right prompts and the right data, AI can write pretty good personas. So when I talk about prompts, there's lots of different ways to prompt these tools, right? To ask them to give you output. This is the model that we tend to use the most. This is the RACE model. Christopher Penn's a data scientist who came up with this. So basically you give the tool a role, then you tell it what action you're going to ask it to perform. You give it all the context, all the data, all the examples that you can, and then you ask it to execute. So you're kind of building this framework, this structure as you go along in your prompt. And then I talked about the importance of data. So whenever we're adding data into these models, especially, for marketing data, most of the data we're using is not proprietary data, not private data. So we have a common data set up on our website. It's already public information that has all sorts of information about the makeup of our student body. So then we just go into ChatGPT, we upload that data source, and then we use that RACE model. We say, you're a content marketing expert, that's your role. I'm going to ask you to create a persona for a potential undergraduate student for our university. That's the action we're going to ask it to take. Then you give it the context. Here's the data set. Look at this. Get an understanding of our student body. Look at our strategic priorities. Look at our about page so you know what student fits our university the best. And then you ask it to execute. So create the persona, please, and take your time. It's been shown that telling these models to take their time actually creates better output. And I always say please and thank you so that when the robot overlords come, maybe they'll remember I was polite. And then it gives you kind of a good beginning of a persona. And then you go in and you ask it all the questions you would ask doing a traditional persona. What are your decision criteria? What factors influence your decision making? What are your priorities? What are your barriers and roadblocks? You put all that in, then it comes back with a pretty good usable persona. Now they're multimodal, so you can ask it for a headshot, right? And then you get an image. So now you have everything that you need to kind of pull together that one pager. So that's great. But the real power of this is now you go back and you create a custom GPT. So we created Potential Pat the Undergrad. We took all that information that we got and we put that into the instructions of this custom GPT. And you can do this if you already have personas that you've built traditionally. You can just put that information into your custom GPT. And now it's interactive. You can do focus groups with this custom GPT. So you can ask it, what do you think about our admissions page? What other information would you put on there that would help you make your decision? Is the content laid out the way that you want? Is the language easy to understand? You can do competitive analysis. What do you think about our peer sites? What do their admissions page have that we don't have? All sorts of questions you can ask it. You can even ask it what other sources, what other channels would you go to get information to help you make your decision. And that's where we get into distribution. Because in this day and age, distribution equals discoverability. You can't just do SEO on your website anymore and expect people to find you. Especially if you're trying to reach Gen Alpha or Gen Z, they are searching differently. They're searching on social, they're searching using voice, they're searching in communities, they're searching using AI. So you have to have your content in all those channels, on all those places. But we have limited resources, limited time. We're already strapped for a lot of us in our roles. So how do you do that? You use AI, right? ChatGPT is a great tool for repurposing and retargeting content. You identify your high-performing content in any channel, and you can take that and throw a blog article into ChatGPT and say, write a 20-second TikTok script for a potential undergraduate student coming to our university. And it'll spit out 3 or 4 different flavors of that right away. And you give it to one of your social media interns who happens to be the same age as most of your target audience. You say, put this in your own words, and boom, now you've got TikTok content from your high-performing content for a different audience. Descript is a video and audio editing tool that's AI-powered. It can do all sorts of amazing things. You can actually heal audio. So if you're doing an interview with somebody on video and a truck drives by or the audio drops out, you can go in and train the tool on a clean section of audio and then just type in the words that the person said, and it will sync those words up in their voice to their mouth movements. You can force eye contact with the camera, so if you're doing an interview with someone and they're reading off a script, it'll force it so their eyes are looking at the camera. You can automatically remove filler words, and it will seamlessly stitch the video together, so you'll never know that they were saying lots of ums and ahs in there. They recently added a feature where you can insert filler words to make it seem more authentic and human. Opus Clip is a great tool for repurposing long-form video. You can take an hour-long video, drop it into Opus Clip. It'll go through and identify the most relevant, important pieces of that video, pull them out, create them as 30 to 60-second video clips, convert them to horizontal to vertical, and drop the text overlays in automatically. So within minutes, you could have 10 to 15 different clips you could use on social. Runway is a text-to-video tool. We're going to see a lot more of these over the next year. Runway just partnered with Lionsgate Entertainment. Basically, you just go in and you tell it what video you want, and it will create the video for you. I have a short sample. I'm not going to play all of this, but I'll play a little bit of it. So this is from their latest demo. Quality's not great on the Wi-Fi, but you go to their website and check this out. But this is all just generated from text prompts. None of this is real, none of this is CGI. This is all just telling the tool what video you want to create. Runway, or HeyGen, is a text avatar-based tool, so an avatar creation tool. So you can create an avatar of yourself by training the tool with about 30 seconds of your video, and then you can just go in and enter a transcript, and it will create you saying that in your voice with your natural body movements and lip syncing. It also does translation, so a short clip of myself here in English. I'm so excited about the new capability. Drop it into HeyGen, and within about a minute.
Ich bin so aufgeregt über die neuen Möglichkeiten und Chancen.
And I speak Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado por las nuevas capacidades y oportunidades que estas herramientas de IA.
And I speak Korean.
이러한 이제 생성 AI 도구들이
I don't speak any of
우리에게
it.
제공하는
I love watching
새로운
myself speak
기능과
Korean.
기회에 흥분되고 있습니다.
But the lip syncing, the voice, is really good. So remember, you can't believe anything that you see, right? Notebook LM is another great tool. It's built on the Google Gemini model. So it's a huge data set, a huge context window. You can upload 50 different PDF documents, audio files into this. And then basically you can ask it questions about all of those documents, all of that content in there. And it will also generate a podcast of 2 people talking about that content in very natural, kind of easy to understand language. I'll just play you a short sample of this. Maybe.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're cracking open
This is one of our newsletters we dumped in there.
Always an exciting time. Like opening a present, you never know what
About
cool
your
new
newsletter. So if you don't want to read a
tools and
newsletter,
updates
if you
they've
don't want to
come
have
up
it
with.
read to
And let me
you
tell
can
you,
listen to 2
this
people
month's
have a
report
conversation
is
about it.
all about making our lives as site admins easier.
Music.
I won't go through the whole thing. So I've been telling people for years, if you want to optimize your content, if you want to make the most of your content, you have to look at your data. But I don't tell people that anymore. Now I say, you have to let AI look at your data. Because AI can examine your data and find insights way better than any human can. I love Google Search Console, right? It's one of my favorite tools. It tells you all sorts of ways that people are finding your content, what keywords they're searching on, what pages they're coming to. I hate Google Search Console. Doesn't give you the information in the format you want. It doesn't put it all together. You can't see your keywords and your pages at the same time. So we always take that and put that into Looker Data Studio. So now you can see the keywords, pages, how many times people are searching on those, all this information, right? When you export from Search Console, you get like 2,000 or 3,000 results. When you put it into Looker, you get 950,000, you get all of the results. It's great. I don't have time to go through 950,000 results, right? So in the past, you would just look at the top 20 or 30 choices and kind of optimize those. The template for this is also on getmyslides.info. You can just make a copy of this, point it at your Search Console, and you can get this as well. So now what we do is right-click on it, export the data as a CSV, upload it into ChatGPT. You're a content marketing expert. Give me 20 new content ideas. And then bam, it spits out 20 content ideas that are strategic, that are focused on your strategic initiatives, that are specific to an audience you're trying to connect with. Now you can take those 20 ideas, you can put those into potential PAT. You can ask your prospective undergraduate student, which of these content ideas are most interesting to you? What would you like to do from this? Thank you very much for your time. If you have any
Any questions?
I was going to do the video part, the translation and everything, right? So one thing I was a bit concerned is like, I'm giving all my voices and everything there. So is that now easily reproducible and then they're gonna be calling my daughter and blah, 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 right? So, but now the cats are out of that, right? So how personally do you feel about it? I get, you made it, right? So how personally do you feel about it?
So I have lots of video content of myself out there presenting online. I have a podcast. People can grab my voice and train these models on my voice. So putting my voice into HeyGen, I did go look at their usage policies. But I think that the key consideration is when you are working for a company, if they want to train, so I have a friend who creates AI courses online, and when she needs to update the course, because AI changes so quickly, she's always going back and updating the course, she knew that she wouldn't have time to reshoot, re-edit, and do everything like that. So she trained an avatar of herself presenting her course, so now she just goes and changes the transcript, it updates the content. But if you're doing that for an organization, you have to think about what happens when you leave the organization. Do they still have the rights to use your digital identity, within their content? So we're all going to have to start thinking about who owns our digital identity, who owns our digital property. So all sorts of different, I know people that do podcast episodes that are putting that in their podcast contract, that you cannot reuse the likeness of my voice or my video for any purposes, without my approval. So all I'm going to have to start thinking about.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wonder if you have a few words about how you built a custom GPT that you ended up using with the personas.
Yep, so we used Claude and ChatGPT. We fed it in our common data set. We fed it in a lot of information about our student body. Then, so we used that to kind of create the baseline persona, like demographic information about it. And then we went back and we asked it all the questions like, what are your decision criteria? What are your priorities? What are your roadblocks? We got all that information out. So we kind of looked at all of that, figured out for ourselves what we thought was the most accurate, created the custom GPT, tested that a lot ourselves, putting it through its paces, asking it questions about our content. And then we actually took it and let our student interns test it to make sure that content seemed valid for their concerns. We gave them a list of questions to ask it. They asked it their own questions, and they came back to us and said, this didn't seem right, this was way off, we don't care about this, but we do care about this. So it was a lot of iteration, and we're still working on the models and training the models. But they're providing a lot of really valuable input for us. We've also created one for international students. So now our international application pages have changed formatting and the layout based on the feedback that we've gotten from our virtual personas.
I have one question. So in this world where there's fake news and then there's AI generated content that doesn't really say anything but just full of word salad, how would you feel about any possible negative feedback from other people's saying that, hey, this page it's AI generated? Do you feel that it's really actually the future that most of the content would end up being AI generated anyway?
Yeah, so there are predictions that within 3 years, 99% of the content online will be AI generated, just because there's going to be so much. I mean, the scale of AI generated content is going to exponentially surpass what we can do as humans. One of the things, and you talked about this a little bit, there are no government regulations, so it's kind of up to us in our companies and our businesses to establish guidelines. So our institutional guidelines about AI usage are published on our website, and one of the things it says is that we will be transparent about where we use AI and when we use AI. So if we use AI to create an image, or if we use AI to significantly inform the content that we create, not just Grammarly or some minor things that you'll do, some editing, then we will say right within the article, right within the content, pieces of this were generated using ChatGPT or Claude, or this image was created from Midjourney. So we want to be very transparent. We don't want to end up like Sports Illustrated, who was using AI created reporters and claiming that they were human-generated articles, and they got a lot of blowback from that. So we're very open about the fact that this is AI-created content. This can have mistakes in it. We know that AI is not perfect. Also, humans are not perfect. So, we can create content that's not exactly authentic all the time either. So, great question.
I just wonder, there's a lot of concern about those things, that the usage that is improper and the intellectual data being used for free by some entity or somebody else. To me, it looks, in some instances at least, pretty straightforward that you could put some sort of a signature on anything that's being created by AI, like a video or an image, say, maybe harder for writing, right? So why don't they do this? Why does it have to be up to us and not the actual tool that could do this?
Well, because they are profit-driven. So there are, some teams, Anthropic is looking at ways to flag AI-generated content so that it will be detectable. So you can put some sort of watermark or something on there to be able to indicate that it's AI-generated. There, Google says that it can detect AI-generated content that's created using its tools. There's really no good AI detectors out there that are very reliable. As soon as you come up with a way to watermark AI, people are going to come up with ways around it. I think it's really just more important that we educate people and make people aware of the fact that you can't trust what's out there anymore. You can't trust the videos you see, the images, the text. You have to use your resources, your knowledge, your understanding to make sure that something that you're seeing is factual. You've got to go to human sources that you trust and believe in to validate a lot of what you're going to be seeing online. And I think until they figure out how to flag or indicate that this is AI content, we're going to be dealing with exactly that. So I think it's important that crisis communications teams have a plan for when the president of the company is deepfake, because it's going to happen. And we were talking about this earlier. For families, we have a safe word in my house, so if my daughter calls from college and says that she hurt herself and she needs money right away, I will ask her what the password is, and if she doesn't remember it, then not a lot.
Thank you, Brian.